Right, we are in the middle of the third chapter of Ramchal Mesilat Yesharim, Path of Righteous, and we started the third chapter with explaining the two objectives, two things that a man should make effort in order to follow the right deeds, the good, and not to sin, and to avoid drifting and going after his bodily drives and eventually to sin. So we talked about we are speaking about watchful, right? We are still in the trait of the characteristic trait of watchfulness, and what Ramchal is explaining is some new idea of Ramchal is that it's not enough to just learn like by the book, to take a book and learn, okay, this and this and this is good, and this and that is bad, is evil, and I should avoid this. Although I have some struggle in my body, because the body is separate from the soul, and the body has bodily needs of eating and all bodily needs. But I have to fight this struggle, because I'm a creature that is created by God, and my challenge is to combine, to connect the spiritual and the physical, and to elevate all things together. So Ramchal is telling us we have also a kind of a practical method, practical effort to contemplate, to look at everything we do in our daily life, wherever we are, whatever we do. And it's not so simple to do. For example, when a man comes home after a hard working day, and maybe I didn't eat, I didn't have time to eat, and I'm hungry, and then I come home, and then the children are coming and taking you and making you a mess. And not to shout on your children, it's not easy. But Ramchal is saying, wait a minute, you have the magic weapon, magic tool. It's your intellect, it's your reason, and you have to always think. Okay, well, what do I have to do here? How do I manage to keep acting as the right way, and not to drift to anger or such other bad characteristic traits. So that's the idea of the contemplating. That's what Ramchal told us in the beginning of the third chapter, and the second is that we also have to do some accounting, some afterwards, post our actions. We have to, for example, at the end of the day, Ramchal is saying you have to take a few minutes before you go to sleep and think, okay, was I dealing right with his neighbor, with his colleague in work? Was something wrong from my side that I have to repair, I have to fix, and like every day or every week or every month, but at least a few minutes to do it regularly. I have to make this contemplating this account for how do I conduct, and this way one can improve his behavior, his mental level, his spiritual level, and it can follow a very, very very high level of consciousness and spiritual development, and we must do it, because otherwise we can fall into an endless circle that we are thinking that we are okay, but actually we are not. We having a bad trait, and it prevents us of developing. And Ramchal is saying, continuing on in this third chapter, he's saying something interesting, that the problem is, you can say it's very easy. So Ramchal is saying something very important. He's saying he's citing something from Babylonian Talmud, and he say, therefore the rulers say, let us enter into an accounting. It's a verse from Book of Numbers in the Torah, and actually Ramchal is a bit differently interpreting this verse to say, therefore the rulers over their evil inclinations say, let us come and compute the world's account, the loss entailed by the performance of a mitzvah against the gain that one secures through it, and the gain that one acquired through transgression against the loss that it entails. That's something from the chapters of fathers in the Mishnah, and it actually it means you have to, as we started talking about accounting, you have to do this accounting of what will you gain, what will you earn if you observe a mitzvah, and again what you lose. And same from Avera. Avera is not following commandments, transgression. What you earn if you make a transgression or Avera, and what you lose after you didn't observe any commandment, and that's something really important. And Ramchal is saying this is the real governing. In the chapters of Father, the thing, who is the real hero here, a real governor, the one who governs his body, his bodily needs. He's the real hero, because he can do everything, because he is always controlling himself his behavior, his emotions, his feelings, and so that's a real hero, and that's the real success. To be a governor of your body is much more than a governor of a city. And the dangerous thing, not doing it, Ramchal continues and explains that it's like darkness. It's like going in the darkness of this world. This material world is darkening our eyes, our soul's eyes, because you go in this world, you don't see in this world, when you go in the street, you don't see spiritual opportunities so much. You mostly see, right? You see a place to eat, restaurants, place to go to movies. So that's dangerous to fall in the to going always after hedonists, to enjoy the bodily needs. So Ramchal is saying it's like going in the night. It's like going in darkness, and it's very dangerous. And it's like a man that doesn't know where he goes in darkness, and he just fell into some bad obstacle, or Ramchal saying even worse. When you go in the darkness, you see something vague, and you can think it's a steel pillar and not a person, or you look at a person and you think it's a person and not you look at a person and you think it's a pillar. So it's actually our bodily craving make us wrongly identify things in this world. That's what he is explaining us here. Okay, and he brings also more verses from Proverbs that the evil men are going in darkness, and they not aware what will fail them, and while the wise men are taking step out, not to go to these places. And this is something that it's very, very daily. It's like a very, very common in our daily life. When we go and we forget that our spiritual obligation, our spiritual challenges, we can just fail and do wrong, as Ramchal is saying here. And the most dangerous, according to Ramchal, is to believe something that is false, that came from this darkness. Like there was. I will give you an example. there was sometime interview with some chief manager of the greatest prison in the U.S. So this prison manager spoke about the prisoners, all the criminals in the prison. So he say, I didn't meet even one prisoner that is not convinced that he is right and he did right, and he doesn't understand what do the country wants, what the rules wants for him, why he's accused. He think he's upright and just, and you see, like in the prison there are murderers and yes. Any question? Okay, so you see thieves, but and murderers and all kind of people that did very hard crimes, and everyone is persuaded, everyone is convinced that he is right and didn't do something bad. So that's the dangerous of falling to this darkness of going after the bodily craving and needs and forgetting the moral, the ethics, the spiritual level of a human being. Okay.
Rav, it says in this here in the Proverbs, the wise man sees the evil and hides, and the fools pass on and are punished. So my question is it talking about the wise man who is in the darkness, like the above? The above statement, it says the path of the wicked is like pitch darkness.
Right. So
my question is the wise man who sees the evil and hides, is he seeing the evil? Is he able to recognize the evil in the pitch darkness also?
I think you can see it in this way, that the wise men are getting aware that there are some darkness, and they are not they are avoiding to fall into this darkness and to just walk in this darkness, but they some kind shed light on it, or they can say, okay, this is a point of darkness, and I'm avoiding it, and I'm staying in the side of the lighted side.
Okay, so he's not in the darkness. That's what it says here. Is that the thing it says? He's not at all in the darkness. He's beside. He's in the light, and he's not into the darkness.
Right. I think you can say it's more if when we continue to explain there is a nice parable of the garden maze, the garden of the labyrinth. So it's also maybe easier to understand that the wise men are above the garden and are not confused because they are in a higher level in the some kind of porch above the garden. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I understand it's a question that has a lot discussing of it of the case that in this world there is a common situation that evil person are making evil and hurting others, which are righteous people. So the righteous are suffering, are getting hurt, while the evil are getting richer and happier, and how come it's possible? So it's a very deep question. It's basically you can find the book of book of Job in the Bible that speaks about this question, and just to basically say that the idea is that this if it was differently. If it was that every man who do something bad is getting hurt in his hand or in his money, so everyone could be easily righteous, right? It's not it's not a fair game. It's not a high level of ethics. but the higher level of ethics is achieved by the fact that we have free will, we have a choice, and even if we are suffering, we know that we used to say it's for the better, it's for eventually it's for good. Even if many times you can hear stories from people that they got hurt from something, or they had some problem in their life, and it just led them to something much better in the serving of Hashem, or in seeing and discovering something that make them to elevate their spiritual level. So it's not, it's not a black and white in this world, and of course it's not, we cannot think in the eyes of the divine providence, the divine counting. It's Hashem has his own ways of progressing the redemption, of bringing redemption to the world. It's this week is the holiday of Hanukkah. So you can look at how much suffering and wars and failures the Jewish nation suffered and experienced. And in Hanukkah it was a victory, but a victory for limited time, and then the temple was destructed again by Rome, and 2,000 years the Jewish nation was in exile. But eventually you see that there are some things we have to repair in exile, and we have some. It's not for nothing. It's Hashem directing us to do some fixing, to do some counting, and to do repentance mostly, and you can see that the light of Hanukkah was like a guide to the nation of Israel to survive this very tough. So basically we see that if a righteous man is suffering, it's not unjust, it's not non-ethical, but it's for the better in the long term, in the future, or for other calculations that we cannot see. Sometimes we cannot see that if something bad happened, it may be much better than something much worse that should have happened to us instead. So that's in short the basic idea of evil men that are having a good time, and while righteous are suffering. Okay. Okay. So I think I understand. In the question describes something very common that visually we see in this world, that actually you're asking, this world there are a lot of religions, a lot of beliefs and false beliefs, and people are, as you say, convinced that they are true. As the example I told you previously about the prisoners in the prison that are convinced that they are just, right? And how could they have a chance to be to salvation? How do they have a chance to realize and to discover the true good path, or path of righteous? Well, you see, this world it's not something that is easily obtained. It's something that you may say that along the history there is a progress in humanity, right? If you look, for example, 2,000 years before, 3,000 years, so people did some much horrible things like burn, sacrifice babies to their idols, and did some horrible things. And you know, now there is progress that is learned according to history in all humanity, and there is a really it's a fundamental perception in Judaism to believe that everyone has a chance to realize and change his life. He has a free will to come and look for the right truth and not to be left in the darkness, right? So, but it's not easy, and not everyone can succeed, and it takes time. It takes the histories for us, for humanity to repair. We have to spread the light all over the world, right? So many people, we see many people in Andhra Pradesh that do see the right light, do see the light. Also, it fits to Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the holiday of lights. We are lighting candles. So hopefully it should be getting more and more. And but if someone believe in other religion, and that's the dangerous Ramchal speaking, because it's like he's seeing a person as a pillar, or a pillar as a person, and you cannot convince. It's the type of idealistic false belief, because for him it's an ideal. It's a great motive that he follows, and he believes that, and he's not aware that it's false, and it's leading him to sin and to do wrong and to do evil, and he thinks it's good. So it's not an easy to answer what do we have to do, or what as a person has to do, but the idea is to believe that everyone has a chance. Every person has a free will and understanding, and if he really do a deep introspection in himself, and try to understand and try to see what's annoying him, what's still not in conflict in his soul, in his mind, he has a chance to get out of the darkness. Okay. That's like briefly. Right. So I think I can just mention shortly the parallel of just a few seconds. Okay. I'm sorry that I have to leave early today. Basically, there's in the end of the third chapter, there's the parable of maze of garden, and continuing answering this question. there are some the wise people, the sages, our sages, they already know the right path. They already walked in this path, and they know what's darkness and what's not darkness, and good and evil. And our way to succeed, to develop in the right path is follow their guidance, their advice. And we can continue talking about this parable. It's very interesting in next class. But basically, they're saying the advice is to do an accounting for every action, everything a person used to do in his life, and it's very thinking about all kind of all aspects of life. It's like something you make a lot of effort, whether it is in your work or with your place you live, and then after a while or after a long time you realize that it was wrong, that it was false, and it didn't bring the right result you expected. You have to change it. So that kind of accounting is what needed. It's the advice of the sages, the righteous that already are above this maze of darkness that we are in this physical world, in our bodily craving. So I think we can just learn the whole of this idea of garden of maze of gardens in the next class, if it's okay with everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeshua, I think you are. I see mute, right?
Okay.
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 So
Definitely. Next time we will discuss about this parable.
okay.
אוקיי, אז אולי סיכום קצר או שאנחנו נסיים את...
כן.
בבקשה. כן.
Okay, so just to short summarizing, we are getting to the end of the third chapter, and it's very important chapter because it actually speaks about a person, obligations, and way of conducting in his daily life, in his daily spiritual effort of serving Hashem, and to best elevate himself in this world, and that's what Hashem is expecting people in this world, right? To make this connection between the bodily part and the spiritual part, and that's in this way elevate all this world. And we have to learn, first of all, right and wrong, good and evil, and we have to also make an account for all we do, for all our deeds, and to during action and post action. we have to think what was good, what was not so good, where we fell, and we have to fix and repair, or what can we do better with our surrounding society, neighbors, colleagues, etc. And the dangers of the darkness, of following only bodily needs, craving, and how to avoid that by always contemplating and action with our mind, and then we go to the maze of gardens, and we can continue it, explaining it in the next class. That's it so far.